What's up everyone and welcome back to MMA Talk. UFC veterans and fan favorites Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz have officially scored a huge win outside the octagon, this time in the courtroom. The two combat sports icons have emerged victorious in their respective legal battles against Fano, the company that promoted their high-profile boxing match in 2024. According to recent reports, both fighters had filed separate lawsuits against Fano after the event, claiming the promotion failed to pay their agreed-upon fight purses. The situation stemmed from what was supposed to be a major crossover boxing bout that drew considerable attention from MMA and boxing fans alike. However, despite the event's success and strong viewership, the aftermath turned into a lengthy legal dispute over unpaid compensation. This week, after months of arbitration, both Masvidal and Diaz received favorable rulings. An independent arbitrator ruled that Fano must pay Jorge Masvidal a total of $5.3 million for breach of contract and failure to fulfill payment obligations. In a separate case, another arbitrator decided in favor of Nate Diaz, ordering Fano to pay him $6 million, while also ruling that the company's founder, Solomon Engel, must personally pay Diaz an additional $500,000 in damages. These decisions mark a significant win for both fighters, who have consistently emphasized fairness and respect in combat sports business dealings. For Masvidal, often referred to as the original BMF, baddest mother F******, this ruling represents not only financial justice but also validation after months of frustration with what he described as unprofessional handling by the promotion. Nate Diaz, known for his resilience and outspoken nature, expressed satisfaction that the truth had finally prevailed. While neither fighter has issued a lengthy public statement yet, those close to the camps indicate relief and optimism now that the arbitration process has reached a clear conclusion. At this stage, both rulings still require final approval from a federal judge. However, according to legal experts familiar with the case, this step is largely procedural. The arbitrator's findings are expected to be upheld, meaning both fighters should receive their payments soon. The key question now appears to be when the judge will confirm the decision, not if it will be confirmed. The outcome serves as an important reminder about the ongoing challenges fighters face in the world of combat sports promotions. Despite being global superstars, Masvidal and Diaz had to battle legally for compensation that was rightfully theirs. Their victory sends a strong message about the importance of accountability and fair treatment for athletes, especially as more fighters explore opportunities beyond traditional UFC contracts. With this chapter nearly closed, both men can now refocus on their respective careers. Jorge Masvidal has hinted at returning for another big money fight, while Nate Diaz continues to explore crossover opportunities between boxing and MMA. Regardless of what comes next, this courtroom triumph reinforces their reputations as not only legends inside the cage but also fighters who refuse to be taken advantage of outside it. Their persistence has paid off, literally and symbolically, proving once again that when it comes to fighting for what's theirs, neither Jorge Masvidal nor Nate Diaz ever backs down. Before we jump into the next story, we have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon. It really helps us out and ensures you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. The UFC has officially confirmed a notable change to its broadcast lineup for the upcoming UFC 321 event, set to take place later this month in Abu Dhabi. Veteran broadcaster Joe Rogan will not be making the trip overseas, and in his place, Laura Sanko will step into the commentary booth alongside Jon Anik and Daniel Cormier, marking another major milestone in her rapidly rising career within the promotion. For many fans, this development isn't entirely surprising. Rogan, a longtime voice of the UFC and one of the most recognizable figures in the sport, traditionally limits his commentary appearances to events held in North America. With UFC 321 taking place in Abu Dhabi, the decision to have Sanko fill in is consistent with the promotion's usual broadcasting strategy. Still, the announcement has generated significant buzz, as Sanko continues to break barriers in what was once a male-dominated role in MMA broadcasting. Laura Sanko's inclusion on such a high-profile international card highlights her impressive growth within the UFC over the past few years. From her early days as a backstage interviewer and analyst on Dana White's Contender Series to her recent work as a color commentator on pay-per-view broadcasts, Sanko has proven herself to be one of the most knowledgeable and professional voices in the sport. Her deep understanding of the fight game, stemming from her own experience as a professional mixed martial artist, has earned her the respect of fighters, analysts, and fans alike. At UFC 321, she will join the always excellent Jon Anik, known for his play-by-play precision, and Daniel Cormier, the former two-division champion turned analyst who brings unparalleled insight from a fighter's perspective. Together, the trio is expected to deliver one of the most dynamic and balanced commentary teams in recent memory. Sanko's role at UFC 321 also carries symbolic importance. As the first woman in modern UFC history to serve as a full-time color commentator on a pay-per-view event, her continued presence represents a major step forward for diversity in MMA broadcasting. Her professionalism, sharp analysis, and calm composure under pressure have not only impressed fans but also inspired inspired many aspiring journalists and commentators around the world. While Joe Rogan's absence will certainly be felt given his decades-long association with UFC commentary, fans can rest assured that the broadcast is in capable hands. Rogan's limited travel schedule has been a consistent factor in recent years, and he has expressed nothing but support for Sanko's growing role within the team. UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi is already shaping up to be a stacked event, featuring several high-stakes matchups and a globally diverse fight card. With Sanko joining Anik and Cormier at the commentary desk, viewers can expect insightful breakdowns, expert fight analysis, and a refreshing dynamic throughout the broadcast. As the UFC continues to expand its global reach, this move signifies more than just a lineup change. It's a reflection of the organization's evolution and commitment to elevating new voices in the sport. Laura Sanko's rise from fighter to journalist to premier commentator is a story of persistence, talent, and breaking boundaries. Her upcoming appearance at UFC 321 will not only add a new layer of energy to the broadcast but also mark another historic moment in the ongoing evolution of UFC commentary. Move on to another news. UFC superstar Khamzat Chimaev has opened up about his past tensions with former middleweight champion Sean Strickland, revealing that their once friendly training relationship took a sharp turn following a heated online exchange. During a recent appearance on the Badiv podcast, Chimaev detailed the incident, explaining how a simple misunderstanding and a bit of online trash talk escalated to the point where Strickland felt the need to protect himself. According to Chimaev, the two fighters initially shared mutual respect and even trained together without any issues. Their sparring sessions were competitive but friendly, and both men appreciated each other's toughness and work ethic. However, things changed dramatically after an online disagreement involving another Chechen fighter. When we used to train together, everything was normal, Chimaev recalled. But one time I got angry with him. The next day, when he came to the gym, he thought I was going to attack him. Chimaev went on to explain that the situation began in a group chat shared by members of their gym. In that chat, another fighter from Chechnya made a comment that Strickland apparently took issue with. Chimaev, who is fiercely loyal to his teammates and countrymen, decided to step in and defend his friend. There was one guy from Chechnya in the chat, Chimaev said. He wrote something, and Sean replied. I thought he was disrespecting us, so I answered him back, calling him an American chicken. I told him I would beat him up. The exchange quickly spiraled, but according to Chimaev, much of it was the result of a language barrier. At that time, my English wasn't very good, he admitted. Maybe I misunderstood him, and he misunderstood me. That's all it really was. It was not a big deal, but it got blown up. Still, the tension that followed was real. Strickland reportedly became cautious around Chimaev after the incident, believing that the fiery Chechen might physically confront him at the gym. Chimaev, however, insists he never had such intentions and that his anger cooled down quickly. He was walking in the gym like he was ready to defend himself, Chimaev said, laughing. But I had no problem with him after that. It was just words. Despite the humorous undertone, the exchange offers a rare glimpse into the volatile personalities of two of the UFC's most outspoken and intense fighters. Both men are known for their aggressive fighting styles and blunt honesty outside the cage, making their brief feud all the more intriguing to fans. Currently, Sean Strickland is serving a suspension, but he has made it clear that his goal is to return and challenge Chimaev for the middleweight title once he's cleared. Strickland has openly stated that he wants to bring the championship back to America and prove that no one, not even the undefeated Chimaev, can dominate him inside the octagon. As for Chimaev, he remains focused on maintaining his undefeated record and solidifying his status as one of the most dangerous fighters in the world. While he seems to have put the feud behind him, his comments suggest there's still lingering tension and perhaps unfinished business between the two. Whether it's in the gym or under the bright lights of the UFC octagon, a potential future showdown between Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland could be one of the most heated and anticipated rivalries in recent memory. Move on to another news. UFC President Dana White has made some significant roster adjustments in the aftermath of last weekend's UFC Rio event, officially parting ways with several fighters after a string of disappointing performances and other controversies. According to a report by SureDog's Tom Feely, 4 fighters have been released from the promotion, signaling another instance of the UFC's ongoing efforts to tighten its roster and maintain high competition standards. The first name on the list is Irene Alexia, whose recent struggles inside the octagon have led to her departure. Alexia suffered her 3rd consecutive loss this past weekend, bringing her UFC record to 1-3. Her inability to find consistency in the division ultimately cost her a spot on the roster. To make matters worse, her tenure was marred by issues beyond fight results, including a failed weigh-in and a previous anti-doping violation. Following the announcement, fellow UFC fighter Jana Santos took to social media with a sharp comment, saying, "How do you fail a weigh-in, lose 90% of your fights, and get busted for PEDs in just 4 appearances?" Santos's blunt reaction reflected what many within the MMA community felt, that Alexia's release was inevitable. Next on the list is Andre Muniz, a talented middleweight who once showed tremendous promise but has struggled to regain his early momentum. Muniz suffered a first-round TKO loss to Edmund Shabazian on the UFC 320 card card earlier this month. That defeat dropped him to just one win in his last 5 outings, with his most recent victory dating back to 2023. Despite flashes of brilliance earlier in his career, including a submission win over Ronaldo Jacare Souza, Muniz has failed to maintain consistency against top competition. His release marks a disappointing chapter for a fighter once considered a future contender. The third fighter to be cut is Justin Tafa, the heavyweight known for his powerful striking and fan-friendly style. Unfortunately, Tafa's recent career has been derailed by a botched weight cut ahead of the UFC Perth event. The incident not only forced him out of the fight but also raised concerns about his preparation and health. Following the release, reports suggest Tafa plans to take a break from mixed martial arts to focus on recovery and re-evaluate his future in combat sports. His brother, Junior Tafa, remains on the UFC roster. Finally, Broan Walker has also been removed from the organization following her loss to Veronica Hardy on the UFC 320 card. The defeat marked her third consecutive loss and came after a 2.5-year layoff from professional competition. Walker's struggles to find rhythm after such a long break, coupled with a declining record, made her a likely candidate for release. The decision to part ways with these fighters reflects the UFC's ongoing approach to maintaining an elite-level roster. Dana White has often emphasized that consistent performance, professionalism, and marketability are key factors in keeping one's place in the promotion. While being released from the UFC is undoubtedly a setback, history has shown that several fighters have rebounded successfully in other organizations, later earning their way back into the octagon. For now, the message from the UFC is clear: no one is immune to roster cuts, and the path to redemption lies in performance and discipline. As the organization prepares for a busy end to the year, these roster moves serve as a reminder that the competition at the top of mixed martial arts remains as fierce as ever. Move on to another news. Former One Championship titleholder Rainier de Ridder has weighed in on the ongoing debate surrounding Alex Pereira's future in potential super fights, agreeing with many analysts that both Jon Jones and Khamzat Chimaev would pose serious stylistic problems for the reigning light heavyweight champion. As Pereira continues to entertain the idea of moving up to heavyweight for a potential clash with Jones, de Ridder believes that the Brazilian knockout artist could be walking into a tactical nightmare if he faces elite grapplers. In a recent interview with MMA Fighting, de Ridder broke down why he views both Jones and Chimaev as extremely difficult matchups for Pereira, emphasizing the clear difference in grappling and wrestling pedigree. 100%, de Ridder said when asked if he thought those two fighters would be a nightmare for Pereira. "We haven't really seen what Alex can do on the ground because he's mostly been fighting strikers. Even guys like Jan Blachowicz and Magond Ankalaev prefer to strike. He hasn't faced a real, relentless grappler yet." De Ridder, himself one of the most accomplished submission specialists outside the UFC, added that it would be fascinating to see how Pereira handles a pressure-heavy wrestler like Chimaev before ever stepping into a cage with someone of Jon Jones's caliber. "Let him get some work in with Khamzat first," he suggested with a grin, implying that Chimaev could expose weaknesses in Pereira's ground defense long before a super fight with the heavyweight king becomes realistic. The discussion comes amid growing speculation that Alex Pereira could make the jump to heavyweight for a massive crossover showdown with Jon Jones, a fight that would easily headline one of the biggest events in UFC history. Although the UFC has yet to officially announce anything, both fans and insiders are buzzing about the possibility. Adding further intrigue to the discussion, Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson, who trains alongside Jon Jones, also spoke with MMA Fighting about the idea of both Jones and Pereira competing on the same card. "Man, that'd be incredible," Steveson said. "I try not to think too big sometimes, but moments like that, you can't deny them. Having an Olympic champion, an American star, and someone like Jon representing on the biggest stage possible, it would be amazing. The fact that you even asked me about it gives me chills." Meanwhile, Rainier de Ridder is preparing for his own upcoming bout against Brendan Allen, which takes place this weekend. Despite the looming challenge, de Ridder has remained active on social media, recently sharing a video update with fans revealing that he weighed around 220 pounds just 3 days before his fight. Although he was fully clothed in the clip, it's clear he still had a bit of weight to cut before stepping on the scale. While de Ridder's immediate focus remains on Allen, his insights into Pereira's future have sparked plenty of conversation within the MMA community. His comments echo what many observers have long suspected, that Pereira's striking brilliance could be neutralized by an elite grappler capable of taking him down and controlling him on the mat. Whether or not Pereira ultimately faces Jon Jones or Khamzat Chimaev, Rainier de Ridder's perspective adds an expert voice to the debate. His assessment underscores the immense challenge that awaits anyone attempting to bridge the gap between striking dominance and wrestling mastery in modern MMA. For now, fans can only speculate, but one thing is certain: if either of those matchups ever happens, it would be nothing short of explosive.